Good evening, Garden City. I'd like to call to order a regular scheduled council meeting for Monday, August 20th, 2018 at 7 p.m. Our first order of business is our opening ceremony, which consists of the national anthem, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence for those service members that have given their lives while defending our country. Would everybody please stand?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Madam Clerk Bettis, can you take the roll, please?
Good evening, Your Honor. Mayor Walker?
Here.
Councilmember Jacobs?
Here.
Councilmember Lynch? Here. Councilmember Squires? Here. Councilmember Earl?
Here.
Councilmember McCarge?
Here.
Councilmember Kerwin?
Here.
Okay, we're moving on to item 4, approval of the agenda as presented.
Mayor,
Councilmember Lynch.
I move for the approval of the agenda for Monday, August 20th, 2018, as presented.
Support from Councilmember Squires. Any comments from the table? From the general public? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Moving on to item 5, recognition. If I could have our retired DPS director, Kevin Roney, come up to the podium. You can bring your wife, Sally, too. And Mr. Anderson, you can follow over behind.
Mayor, how you doing?
How you doing? How you doing, Sam? Good to see you. Well, Mr. Roney, our DPS director, as you know, he retired last week, and we wanted to present him with a plaque in appreciation to Kevin Roney for your outstanding service and dedication to the City of Garden City and the Department of Public Services. Best wishes in your retirement, dated August 13th, 2018. God bless you.
Thank you so much.
I just want to take the opportunity to congratulate you also on your retirement and to present something to you in token of our appreciation for Wayne County and for everything that you've done. I know you really always have the city's best interests at heart, and that means a lot, the number of years of dedicated service. So So I just wanted to recognize you and give you something to hang on to.
Kevin, did you want to say anything, or? The microphone's all yours.
I hadn't planned to say anything, but I will say that Garden City is a phenomenal city. What a great town, what great people, what great leaders. And I want Garden City to want the best for this wonderful, wonderful town. So keep me in your prayers. I'm going to keep you guys in my prayers, and I won't be a stranger.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 6, community events. I'm going to call up Kim Dole, the director of the DDA. She's going to give us some DDA updates.
Seriously, I expected it to be a little heavier than that. Well, good evening. I wanted to kind of come before council tonight and go over a few things that the DDA has been doing in the past year and a few things that are coming up for the rest of this year. I wanted to make sure that everyone understands the DDA was created to promote and enhance the commercial core of the downtown, and we do that in several different ways. As director, I take my walking orders from the Board of Trustees that is appointed by this fine body up here, and the mayor is also one of our trustees on the board. So to just kind of, in a nutshell, we attend several different professional conferences and trainings throughout the year. This past year, I was involved with the Redevelopment Readiness Community Training. That allows the city to become eligible for additional technical assistant and development opportunities. I went to capital improvement plan training to learn some additional things about that. But the DDA is also involved with the Garden City Business Alliance. We attend the Planning Commission meetings whenever there's anything on their agenda that concerns the DDA or businesses downtown. The Michigan Downtown Association has a conference every year and several workshops. We also attend the International Council of Shopping Centers Idea Exchange. And one of the big reasons why we go to that, usually the chairperson and myself attend that every year, is that we receive a hot list of retailers. These are national retailers, restaurants, et cetera, that are looking to expand. We get a lot of information on them, what size property they're looking for, who the brokers are, that sort of stuff. So it allows us to have some inside information and contact information. The DDA has been and is still looking, we're exploring opportunities to redevelop vacant properties. Sometimes that we're actually looking at the possibility of purchasing a vacant property and I guess flipping it, if you want to call it that. And by purchasing it, we may be able to direct a little bit more what kind of business we want to see go into that property. Some of the other things that have been going on, we are slowly reinstating our facade and parking loan program. We just recently had one of our businesses apply for a parking loan program that was approved. And we're hopeful that in the next budget year, coming budget year, once because, let me back up a minute, we made our last loan payment this year for the downtown streetscape. So next year, we're hoping to fully implement the facade and parking loan program. We also just created a signage grant. This money's not going to have to be repaid. It will pay up to 25% of the signage cost, up to $1,000 for new businesses or existing businesses. And of course, there's criteria that they'll have to meet. We'll be assisting House of Pets with that new signage as they make their move over to the old CC's or American Pie. We have a marketing task force, and in the works is a vacancy open house that we're going to use to highlight our vacant properties, hopefully throughout the entire city. I maintain an available properties map on the DDA website, so anyone that's interested can go there and see what properties we have, the square footage, what they're asking for per square footage, that kind of thing. We actively participate with the redevelopment of McDonald's, and it will happen, I promise. The Kmart property and Planet Fitness at our former Kroger location. Some of the other things that we do, and these are done annually, but I'm not sure that, and they're little things a lot of times, but we have a review every year of our irrigation system that runs throughout the central business district into our poles and the planting beds. So that's reviewed every year, and we make repairs to that. Every single year we have to make repairs because snow plows do a lot of damage during the winter time, and just some of it's vandalism, not much though. We got pretty good kids here in Garden City. We do backflow testing. The water meters have to be installed and removed. We installed the street pole banners. We only had a few at the corner here at Ford and Middlebelt, but they were advertising the Bacon Run, and they were nice and colorful, and we put them up per holiday. We'll be lighting all the trees along Garden City again this year. We're looking at adding a color to that, possibly green on the trunks and leaving the white up there. And one of the other things with the holiday decorations, many, many moons ago, we had star sprays that were put up on the poles. I don't know if anyone remembers them. They're very old and not in good shape at all. So in talking with our maintenance company, Carter Lawn Services, Gary's kind of a handyman in a lot of different areas, and he is refurbishing those for us at a very minimal cost, actually. They'll be refurbished, and we're actually looking at being able to use them for Christmas and then throwing them up again for the 4th of July holiday, because they kind of look like fireworks with the stars, and we just have to change out one color bulb. So they should look pretty good, and that'll save us a little bit of money. If you remember last year, we leased some of the holiday decorations, the stars or the snowflakes that were up on the poles. Those were leased, and we won't have to do that again this year. So some of the other things that happen, we do downtown walkabouts, I call them, just to identify issues. We are currently looking at all the issues that are going on in the DDA area. It's been many years since the streetscape was done, so there's a lot of repairs now that are coming up. We have concrete that needs replaced. We have street lamps and benches and trash receptacles that need painted. So all of this stuff, we're going to put that all together kind of as a package, I believe, and look about taking care of that. We recently trimmed some trees. We removed some trees for businesses. We worked with Kevin Roney, actually, and now Brad over at DPS. With behind Joe D's, they're having some parking lot issues. People are getting kind of trapped in because of some changes that were made there. We worked again with Barson's Greenhouse to design and purchase the flower baskets that I don't know what's happened in the last 2 weeks, but every other day we're getting phone calls at the DDA. Those baskets, they just kind of popped in the last couple of weeks. They're gorgeous. And I credit Barson's and Gary Carter with that. So moving on, we do events, and we do events for a couple of reasons. To bring people downtown is one of the big reasons, and of course to be active in the community. One of the things that's in the planning stage right now, we're doing a joint awards celebration, and it looks like it's going to be in February 2019. That'll be for First Citizen, Firefighter of the Year, Police Officer of the Year, Business Person of the Year, and it's going to be a pretty big event, so everybody, I'll let you know as soon as we know the exact date. The Lucky Squirrels that we do 2 of those a year. We've got approximately 200 vendors at each one. That's attracting people from a lot of other communities other than Garden City, getting them downtown. And it also gives our local businesses and our home-based businesses somewhere to promote themselves and do advertising, in their sales. The flea circus, this year we saw about a dozen dogs find new homes. That's been about what we see every year. We have low-cost vaccinations done there, and that line never stops the entire time the vet is there. And the city licensed, I believe, a couple dozen dogs, at least. Allison's kind enough to have someone come over to the flea circus, and they're right there. So you get your dog vaccinated, you come right over and you license them with the city. So we're also coming up real quick here on our 11th annual chili cook-off. When this started the very first year, there were 3 teams, police, fire, and DPS, I believe, under a couple of 10-by-10 canopies out in front of Kmart. We have grown so large now, we have nowhere else to go. We're using up Central, we connect to the fire station, to the police station, we use all the parking areas over there. You know, we've got dozens of cooking teams, over 100 hot rods that show up, the motorcycles, entertainment, the kids area. And the good thing about the chili cook-off is that every year we do this, we're able to donate money to our local charities. Last year we donated over $15,000 to the Home Pantry, Garden City Goodfellows, the Straight Farmhouse, our museum, and United Needy Family. And those are all Garden City charities that stay within Garden City. We participate in the American Express Small Business Saturday that promotes our local businesses. This is the 3rd year that we'll be doing that. We're the title sponsor of the Santa Land Parade, and we host Santa afterwards for the kids. And the Monday after Thanksgiving, we light up the tree at the corner of Ford and Middle Belt, which is one of the busiest intersections in Wayne County. So that gets a lot of visibility during the holiday season, people going through with the Welcome to Garden City sign on there. So that's pretty much what we're up to on a regular basis. So I thank everybody for listening, and
Thank you.
that's it. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Mrs. Dole. Okay, moving on to item 7, comments from state and county officials. I see we have Mr. Peterson here from State Representative Joel Jones' office. Yeah, I've been there. I hear you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, City Manager Dogley, and citizens of Garden City. I'm here to represent State Representative Joel Jones, and I hope you all enjoying this really pleasant summer we're starting to have, and hopefully we can turn it into an Indian summer soon. On the legislative front, there isn't a whole lot happening. You know, we've been in recess since July, but there are a couple of things I want to point out. I'll be brief. But before I do that, I want to mention the fact that next month is it's a sudden infant death syndrome month, or infant death awareness month. Essentially, it's set aside as a time to remind people that it's very important to make sure they're doing everything they can to protect small children, in this instance, infants. On a personal note, unfortunately, I had that experience in my family recently, and it's terrible because there's really no explanation for it. It just happens, and people can't really explain why. But the idea of the Infant Death Awareness Month is to give people at least some tips on things they can do to hopefully prevent it. In Michigan, a baby dies every 3 days because of SIDS. And around the country, about 4,000 kids die each day as a result of that syndrome. And there's a very simple prescription that the national program recommends as a way to hopefully at least reduce or minimize the number of deaths. And the acronym is ABC. One is an infant should always sleep alone. You know, a lot of parents want to put the baby in bed with them. And unfortunately, that's could develop into a very dangerous situation for a child. The second thing is a baby should sleep on its back. A lot of people like to put the baby on the tummy to sleep, but really the safest position to put a baby in is on its back. You can put it on its tummy to play, but experts suggest that you should put it on its back to make sure that it's in the safest position. And then C is crib. You know, get a certified crib for the baby to sleep in. Make sure that the fittings, the sheets, blankets, anything is tucked and tight so there's no possibility of the baby, strangling itself or rolling up in a ball and perhaps mothering itself. So this is just a real simple prescription that hopefully people will follow to help minimize the number of deaths that are caused by sudden infant death syndrome. On the legislative front, I want to point out that we haven't really introduced any new legislation because of the recess period, but I want to point out some things that Democrats are trying to push through in the fall. And I've talked about some things the last time I was here, for example, the higher ed thing, the free community college. This has to do with small business. That's a real big emphasis for us in the upcoming session, is to provide more support, resources, services, funding to support and promote small business throughout the state. We've got the MEDC, but frankly, as those of you who may have dealt with them recognize, it's really focused on medium and large businesses. They're trying to attract large businesses to the state and provide incentives and other things that help to further that mission. We really would like to see more jobs created among small businesses. So there's specific bills, and I can give you the numbers if you're interested. I don't want to belabor this presentation with that, but I've got the information with me. But there are 3 bills that essentially will, 1, create a special unit in government that's focused on providing services to small businesses. And that's across the board, whatever they need, expertise, funding, whatever resources are necessary to support them. The second thing is to provide a special preference for small business with respect to state contracts. We're going to try to, respect whatever legal requirements that are necessary, but the idea is to have a set-aside as a percentage of state procurement contracts that's targeting small businesses to help them get a better footing and hopefully allow better retention among those businesses. And the third thing is a special program that would allow small businesses to buy into a state-level retirement program. I don't know all the details of how that would be worked out, but the idea would be able to structure something at the state level that would provide retirement program for small businesses. So that's a real big push. We're hopeful that, and I don't get too political, but we can gain control in the House. We'd like to push that agenda. We think it's important to not only create jobs amongst large businesses and medium-sized businesses, but small businesses as well, which are the largest number of employers in the country anyway. Thank you for your time. Any questions? I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Any questions? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Peterson.
Sure.
Okay. Wayne County Commissioner Glenn Anderson, you got anything for us?
I'll try to make it brief, but good evening, council members and mayor and city manager and clerk. I just wanted to say, first of all, congratulations on all the hard work by all those involved that were successful in raising the money to complete the fitness court here in Garden City. I know construction hasn't started yet. I think you have something on the agenda tonight. It really says a great deal about this community, how it comes together to put something like that together to raise the money. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that I recall the time when Monica Fulton brought this in front of the council, and I was here at that meeting, and I know she and a lot of other help that she's had worked extremely hard to make this dream come this far. I would also like to say, I told Monica earlier, just before the meeting started, that Wayne County, we will be approving on Thursday the giving final approval to the First Contact program. It's a youth diversion program. Most of you are aware of it, I'm sure, all of you. And that'll be on the agenda for Thursday. Should get final approval, and I know that'll be one less concern off of Monica's plate. I know she has stayed in touch with us and to make sure we were following it through, and we approved it in committee that I serve on last week, and it'll be on the full board agenda on Thursday, and it'll get final approval at that time. Also, the Ways and Means Committee that I serve on is currently reviewing the 2018-2019 county budget, and it should be wrapped up by sometime in September, probably by the first or second week of September. Last but not least, I understand someone had a birthday this last week on the council, and I just wanted to wish Councilwoman Kelly Kerwin happy 29th birthday.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Moving on to item 8, petitions and communications. Like I promised a few meetings ago, I would give updates on what's going on in the city so residents here and on the TV can hear it straight from us, some of the things that are going on in Garden City. So first and foremost, on behalf of the City Council, I want to thank the voters of Garden City for their support on the roads vote. As with the whole state of Michigan, our roads are in dire need of repair, but unlike the past, when all we could do was complain about the roads ourselves, thanks to the voters, we can finally start doing something about it. Speaking of the roads, to give you a quick update, you will see construction beginning this week on Hubbard between Maplewood and Warren. In the next month or two, construction will begin on 2 blocks in the northeast corner of the city, including 1 block of James and 1 block of Cambridge. In addition, as you will see in tonight's meeting, if all goes well, we will approve concrete sectioning work on Marquette. If you remember last year, we did sectioning where you take out the bad squares. We did it on Marquette between Merriman and Craig. We are going to continue from Craig to Vinoy. Remember, sectioning is when bad concrete areas are cut out and replaced with new concrete. Instead of replacing a full road for $1 million, we can save a lot of money and roads by doing sectioning. So this fall, you will see us complete Hubbard between Maplewood and Warren, Marquette between Craig and Vinoy, and 1 block of Cambridge and 1 block of James in the northeast. As far as the bond issue for the roads vote, we are expecting to follow the following timeline. We will put our specs together for new roads for bid by December 1st. We'll accept bids to fix our roads by January 1st. City Council will approve the bids by February 1st, and we will start road construction in the middle of April of next spring. Soon as the thaw goes down, we will be out there fixing these roads. Starting this spring, Garden City will experience some great road work continuing through the summer and into the fall. The best part is we will start all over again next fall with the same process and be ready for more road construction in the spring of the following year. This is a 5-year program that we voted on, and we are going to hit it and hit it hard and start making a difference. Some other news, Planet Fitness opened today. It's open for business at the old Kroger. So if you're out of shape and you want to get in shape, go sign up. Ice rink. Our refrigeration system was 40 years old. We put in a brand new refrigeration system. Electrical work was installed in the ice rink, and we should have ice in within the week, 3 to 4 days. Brand new system. Replacing one of our old rescue units. We got I'm proud to announce that the fire department has just received their new rescue vehicle, which some would call an ambulance. In fact, at our next meeting in a couple of weeks, the new vehicle will be out front of City Hall for everyone to see. Right now, our firefighters are finishing up the details on the vehicle and taking it for test runs, getting all the decals on it. And then also, we've had a lot of trash complaints with GFL, Green for Life is what that stands for. This past week, staff met with representatives from GFL to express our displeasure of the trash service that we have received the past few months. The company admitted that they have had staffing issues and are following up on all of our concerns. The city can expect even more responsiveness from the company as we move forward. Again, if you have trash issues, let us know, but we are all over them. So that's the updates I have for today, and we will continue to do this each meeting to keep you abreast of what's going on in our great city. Okay, moving on, we're going to move on to item 9, which our public hearing tonight is the sidewalk program. This is your opportunity to come up and make comments about the sidewalk program. It's not the time to converse back and forth. If you have a concern and you want somebody to come out and look at your house or your sidewalk, leave your name and phone number with Ms. Bettis. But if you want to make comments, you got 3 minutes, and we'll probably be answering some of the questions later on in the meeting when we get down to the sidewalk issue on here. But this is your opportunity to make comments about the sidewalk program. So I'm going to open up the public hearing. Anybody that wants to speak?
With Madden and Helen on Vaughan Road, the sidewalk is so bad. But the church, community church, the sidewalk is terrible. I went there in the bike. Look at that. Terrible.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bacco. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
My name is Ken Walkmeyer. I reside at 32193 Elmwood Street in Garden City. I was here at the last council meeting with regards to the sidewalk program because I had inadvertently received a letter with regards to the program. The week after that letter was received, someone did come out and they marked 3 blocks of my sidewalk to be replaced. A couple questions I had is, with the billing procedure, are we being billed by the city? Is that who will be billing us?
We'll answer those later.
Okay. The other question I had was, I know there was a couple of options provided. Will we be allowed to, over, say, like the 90-day period, make 3 payments to offset the cost if we don't want our assessments to go up? The other was, on April 26th, Kevin Roney received a letter from the Hennessy engineers indicating that initially it was going to be done in the maintenance district number 1 north of Maplewood and west of Merriman, and then about a week later Hennessy sent him another letter indicating it would be all neighborhoods north of Ford Road and west of Merriman, which is quite an increase in the size of the area to be done. I was kind of curious what the reasoning was for the change. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next. State your name, please.
Henry Dryovich.
Okay.
I think that the quote that I got and the work that needs to be done, it seems to be a fair price. I just have a little question about what plans to be done. I tried to lift the concrete, so I know it would cost me probably just as much in equipment to try to do that, plus the, are they just gonna skim the edge, or are they gonna replace the walk? And I'm not sure which parts, but I have a tree that is between the sidewalk and the street, which is causing the sidewalk to be coming up. But I also got a call from my tenant, because it's rental property, that again, the sewage drain required a plumber to come out and run a snake through it, snake it out. The last time was just a couple of months ago, or in December, where we hired a plumber to snake that out. And I'm curious about where the line runs on the property. I've just taken over the property from my mother recently, so I don't know where things run there. And if I'm gonna have to dig up my front yard to do the plumbing issue, or the tree or whatever, I'm not certain, would it make more sense for me to consider adding that into the work that I have somebody do? And if you have advice on who I could call or how to approach that, like how would I go and get I think it's the lines tagged, like where the gas and sewage line goes? I'll listen for your answers.
Okay. Next. Your name?
Bob Kimball.
Okay.
The only concern I have is I have a tree, and that's the reason the sidewalk's moving up. I think it's a good thing. The sidewalk needs to be repaired, but if you don't take the tree down, it's going to do the same thing in 5 years, and then I'll be paying again. That's the only concern I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, seeing no more, I'll close out the public hearing. Move on to item 10, consent agenda.
Mayor?
Councilmember Lynch.
I move for the approval of the consent agenda items 10A, 1 and 2.
Support.
Support from Councilmember Squires. Comments from the table? From the general public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes 7-0. Item B1, necessity for the sidewalk program.
Mayor?
Councilmember McCarge.
I move to adopt the following resolution determining the necessity and directing the preparation of a special assessment role for 2018 sidewalk program.
Support.
Support from Councilmember Earl. Any comments from the table? Mr. Doherty?
You want to discuss some of those
Yes.
points? Ryan, you got a moment to come up? I believe one of the questions was expanding the area. Was that because we changed the specs?
Yes, it is. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just to answer some of those questions, yeah, the area, as you know, originally we were looking at addressing all defects within the sidewalks within an area north of Maplewood and west of Merriman. After we had awarded the contract and some discussion that we had here with you, we decided to revise the criteria to only address trip hazards that are greater than 1 inch. Because of that, a lot of the locations within that original target area were taken out of the program. And because of the budget that we had for the program, we did expand it to include everything north of Ford Road and west of Middle Belt, as well as north of Maplewood, east of Middle Belt. And then next year, we will continue in a clockwise fashion around the city. A couple of the other questions that came up as far as the billing. Yes, there will be a separate bill that will be submitted with your tax bill in December that would have the invoice for the sidewalk work that was done. Is that correct? That's not correct? That's what I was told. I'll have Allison answer that in a minute. But there are two options. That you can either pay it in full at that time, or you can pay it in payments 5 years with 4% interest. So you have those two options to pay. It is $175 per sidewalk flag or square, 5 foot by 5 foot square. Unless it's within the driveway approach, then it's $189 per square foot because the thickness of the concrete is 6 inches versus 4 inch in the driveway approach. Some questions about the trees between the street and the sidewalk. Typically, we do not remove the tree unless the tree is encompassing the sidewalk. There's some locations where the roots have grown so much to where those roots are basically on top of the sidewalk, or they're on top of the curb on the street and it's destroying the street. If that's the case, we do remove the tree. Otherwise, we're trying to avoid the removal of the tree as much as possible. The contractor does remove the roots underneath the sidewalk. So when they do remove the sidewalk, the roots are removed before we put the sidewalk back in. There was the one.
Ryan, we also have the ability to go around.
And we do have the ability to go
circle around a little bit for those that might be a little more encumbered.
Yes, correct. And then there was a question as far as locating a service lead. I'll get that gentleman's address here in a minute, but we do have the capability of going back to the sewer videos that were done during the S2 grant program a few years ago to be able to locate exactly where that lead may be, so you have a better idea to see if it is running underneath your tree or not. And that's something, if anybody else has that, you can either contact the DPW or our office and we can get that for you. I think that answers all the questions that we had tonight. I don't know if council has any others.
I got a couple. So we're going to go after 1 inch or higher heaved to make you replace it. It's $175 a slab if you use our contractor, or you can get your own contractor. You can also shave or grind it down. I called Garden City Rental just to see, and they do rent out the machine to grind down. If it's 2.5, 3 inches, you're not going to be able to grind that much down. But if you got a small heave, you can, instead of replacing the sidewalk, you can rent the machine. It's $140 for 4 hours or $220 for the whole day. So if you got 4 or 5 neighbors together, you could rent that thing for the whole day. And
yeah, and I do know of a few spots where neighbors have gotten together and done that this year, especially in that area that we removed. Some people went ahead and did it anyway and ground
right.
it
It gives
down.
you the option of not replacing the concrete. Again, it's $175 per flag, per section. If it's the flag right behind the driveway, because that's 6 inches thick, the other ones are 4 inches thick, it's $189 for those flags that are behind your driveway. They cost more than the other ones. So just want to give that information out. Anybody else got any other comments? I think we answered. You're going to get with the one gentleman on the lead. Okay, any other comments from the table?
Mayor, if
Oh, the billing.
you'd like me to address the billing, and I apologize, Ryan, I didn't hear you correctly. So yes, there is a separate bill, and usually those are done in December, but they're not a part of your December tax bill. So typically, what council is considering right now is a special assessment roll. You will be billed annually for a period of up to, I believe, 5 years. You can pay it off all at once, and that way you avoid the nominal interest. But if you do decide to pay it in installments, there's a nominal interest charge of about 4%, and that is separate from your tax bill.
Okay, so you get 5 years to pay it off, or you can pay it off all at once. It's up to you.
Save on the interest.
And save on the interest, 4% interest, so.
And we will be having another public hearing when we have the roll, which has specific dollar amounts and specific properties that are going to be assessed. So you'll receive a notice saying that you are on the special assessment roll. This is how much you owe. We are proposing that you owe, and you'll have an opportunity to be heard about that.
Okay. Anybody else from the table? From the general public?
Do they need a permit for grinding?
I don't think so.
We could look into it, but I don't believe you.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I apologize, I understand the billing issue. The only, again, Ken Walkmeyer, but my taxes are part of my mortgage payment. Okay, will this bill definitely come to my house instead of going to the mortgage company?
It will go to your home.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hello, my name's John Murray. I live on Lather Street. The sidewalk issue is a reactionary problem. From my walking around the neighborhoods and that, I'm seeing that we have new residents that moved in. And they have heaving problems and stuff like that that should have been corrected by the original homeowner. So I think we need to become proactive in making sure these inspectors make the original homeowner do the repair instead of having a young couple or a new couple move into the city, and then the following year they get hit with this bill. And I think we need to also check on whether or not we have variances for, like you said, grinding is a good idea. But I've also seen where they put a slurry, is what I call it, to make it a smooth transition. I don't think that's in the code. And I think we need to either direct the building department or get a clarification from the state on exactly what actions we should take and mandate. And also the other issue we have is there been poor inspections done? And on my property, I have it where they didn't chop into the roots, and now it's pushing it up, which is causing heaving on both sides, which then puts grass in the middle of that. And that's deteriorating the problem that way. So I know what the sidewalk program is trying to do, but we need to create a more proactive program on keeping from being in this spot and protect our citizens.
Okay. Thank you for your comment, sir. Anybody else?
Mayor, if somebody is selling their house, is that one of the things that is inspected and
Yeah, that should be.
There's no reason that somebody should be able to sell a house with a heaving sidewalk.
But one of the things that we're talking about tonight is who is responsible for that C of O, and it's not the seller currently. No.
Okay.
Yep. Correct.
Just driveway, not sidewalk.
Councilmember Lynch is saying driveway, not the sidewalk. But
Need clarification on that, please.
Yep, we'll get a report back to you.
yeah, thank you. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes 7-0. Okay, item 2, Marquette Avenue, to award the construction for concrete sectioning from Craig to Vinoy.
Mayor,
Councilmember Jacobs.
I move to award a contract to GV Cement of Brownstown, Michigan, in an amount not to exceed $396,616 in accordance with the correspondence dated August 1st, 2018 from Hennessy Engineers.
Support.
Support from Councilmember Squires. Again, this is the concrete sectioning from Craig to Vinoy. Any other comments from the table? From the general public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes 7-0. Now, item B is the engineering for that work and the inspection for that work.
Mayor,
Councilmember Earl?
I move to award contract to Hennessy Engineers Incorporated in accordance with the proposal letter of August 1st, 2018, in an amount not to exceed $31,180.
Support.
Support from Councilmember Kerwin. Any comments from the table? From the general public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes also, 7-0. And item C is just moving the money from one account to the other account to pay for this, right?
Mayor,
Councilmember Squires?
I move to approve attached supplemental appropriation in the amount of $389,582 for Marquette Street construction.
Support.
Support. Okay, support. Councilmember Jacobs. Any comments from the table?
No, they need to do by Farmington School.
Okay. General
Have heard
public?
of-
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes 6-0 because Councilmember McCard stepped out. Also on the last one, it was 6-0. I said 7-0. I didn't realize she stepped out. Okay, we'll move on to item 3. This is calling for a public hearing on the zoning ordinance for medical marijuana for September 24th at 7 p.m.
Mayor.
Councilmember Jacobs.
I move to introduce an ordinance to amend section 154.165, medical marijuana facilities of the Garden City zoning ordinance, and to call for a public hearing for Monday, September 24th, 2018 at 7 p.m.
Support.
Support for Councilmember Kerwin. Any comments from the table? From the general public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, she's back, 7-0. Okay, item 4, zoning text amendment request for sign definitions.
Mayor.
Councilmember Jacobs.
Move to adopt an ordinance to amend sections 154.602, sign definitions, and 154.611, sign removal by city action of the City of Garden City zoning ordinance.
Support.
Support from Councilmember Squires. Basically, what this one is, folks, when a business goes out of business and their signage is still up in the windows, they have 180 days to take it down, and we look at that blight for 180 days. We're changing that to 30 days. So your signage has to come down within 30 days, and that's pretty much.
Yeah, we're additionally allowing Mayor and Council, the code enforcement officer, to make the determination if there's an abandonment of the property.
Yep.
Currently, it's the zoning board of appeals that makes that decision. So
Yep.
again, we're trying to streamline so we can be more proactive when it comes to blight in the community.
Okay. Any other comments from the table? From the general public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 7-0, passes. Item 5, didn't we do this? Yeah. Do this again?
Make it formal.
Councilmember Lynch.
I move to adopt a resolution to impose a 6-month moratorium on processing new applications for special land use permits for medical marijuana facilities of all types.
Support.
Support from Councilmember Kerwin. So we're not allowing any more applications for the next 6 months on medical marijuana.
Yes, this was passed at the last meeting by the mayor and council, and this is just to make it more official as a full resolution as opposed to just a straight vote.
Okay.
The information's all the same, nothing has changed, and
Okay.
this to hold
I
off.
remember, I thought I'd seen this last meeting. Okay, any other comments from the table? General public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Item 6, our National Fitness Campaign Fitness Court. Monica, you want to come up to the podium, please? We're doing this with no city money, donations and grant money. This fitness court that's going in Garden City Park, thanks to Monica.
It's happening. Super excited. Yeah, so this first one is to for a 50% payment to purchase the fitness court and all of its parts and pieces. The money for this is coming from the Wayne County Parks Millage funds and from the Patronicity fundraising campaign and sponsorships that we've got. So really excited about that.
Very good. So again, if you're out of shape and you got money, you can go to the Planet Fitness. If you're out of shape and you don't have money, you can go to Garden City Park and go to this fitness court. It'd be free, and you can run around the track till you're in shape. So either way, we got you covered.
Round is a
Mayor?
shape. Round is a shape.
I would respectfully suggest, and to keep you out of trouble, that it's also for people to stay in shape.
All right? Hey.
Just saying.
And if you want to stay in shape, those of you that are in shape, like some of us,
Like I said, round
no,
is a shape.
I need to go there myself. So.
Second that.
All right, enough of that. So, item A,
Mayor.
Councilmember
I move
Jacobs.
to approve the 50% progress payment for the National Fitness Campaign Fitness Court in the amount of $37,500.
Support.
Support from Councilmember McCarge. Any comments from the table?
Oh, you had enough.
Enough comments? All right, general public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that passes 7-0. You got to have a little humor, you know. Okay, item B, the fitness court concrete pad installation.
Mayor,
Councilmember Earl.
I move to approve the proposal from GV Cement Contracting Company to install the concrete slab per specifications in an amount not to exceed $20,000.
Support.
Support from Councilmember Squires. This is the same contractor that we're using on Marquette, correct?
Yes,
Same cement.
for Marquette, they were the lowest of 6 bidders. I'm not sure what the bidding was for this one, but yes, same company.
So they're already in town, that works out good. Okay, any other comments from the table, from the general public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next, item 7, certificates of occupancy for residential properties in Garden City. Mr. Doherty?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So this is not necessarily something to vote upon tonight, but it's something that's been discussed in the building department the past week. We have houses that are sold as is, and currently, in most instances, the buyer of a home is the one to get the certificate of occupancy. The concern becomes, as the situation happened this past week, is a house being sold as is that is a tear down. You couldn't possibly live in the house. So someone may purchase, as one of the gentlemen mentioned earlier today, a couple comes in, a young couple that may not know, buys it as is because they're a fixer-upper, we can do this, but then they find out that you can't fix this house at all. It has to be torn down because when they go to get a CO, the city says you can't live in this house. Well, they just bought a house that they thought they could move into that they can't move in, and they may end up buying a $100,000 lot thinking that it was going to be a full house. So the question in our office's discussion this past week was, should the seller be the one to get the CO or the buyers themselves? If the seller gets the CO, our inspectors would come in and make sure that the house is at least habitable. Doesn't mean that they're going to come in and say, replace the roof and fix the drywall and replace the carpet and those type of things, but just at least at that point that it's been inspected and you could live in this house. Of course, there may be still a lot of work to it, an as-is house. If our inspectors go into the house and find out that nobody can live there whatsoever, there would be no CO for this home. So they could still sell the property as is, but the understanding is anyone that buys it, you're buying a lot. You're not buying the house. So at this point, this is just an idea, just to let it marinate a little bit on should we make that change and have it that the seller should get the CO for the next owner. And then maybe there are some minor improvements that do need to be made whole so that the new resident doesn't become shafted in the end, because once you sign that Once you sign as is, you take it as is. Well, you can't live there, it doesn't matter, you took it as is. So this is kind of a protection clause a little bit, and something we maybe want to talk about in the future.
Very good.
Mayor?
Councilmember Squires.
In a real estate contract, as a Realtor, in a real estate contract, there is a section, and I always advise any clients that I have to get a private inspection. It costs $300 or $400, but if you're going to be putting out that much money on a home, it's in your best interest because a private inspector will cover far more than the city inspector will. You know, I don't know, I always encourage my sellers also. I've got a house that's in the process of selling right now too here in Garden City. And that's also a selling point to get this, talk the sellers into coming up with the certificate of occupancy. A lot of them will, some of them don't have the money, you know, they bought at a bad time. I know there's pros and cons to that. And then you've got Livonia that does not require a C of O unless the house is vacant. So you know, there's a lot of different things. I know the sellers have to pay the majority of the closing costs. They have the prorated taxes, they have the realtor's fees for the buyer and the seller. And a lot of times they have to also pay for, I can't remember what I was going to say. Well, anyways, if somebody's getting a mortgage on a home also, it has to be appraised by the bank. And if it's uninhabitable, the bank is not going to loan the money.
Right.
A lot of times, even if it is inhabitable and there's some things that they don't like about it, they won't give the mortgage. So, I don't know.
So there are some safeguards in place.
Yeah, there
what
are
you're saying.
safeguards in place, but everybody has to do their due diligence.
Right.
You know, that are involved in the transaction.
Okay. Any other comments from the table? Do you have a comment, sir?
Yes, sir. Isn't this sort of like a deja vu of what happened on Caldwell Street a couple years back where there was a guy bought it, an investor, ended up having a problem with the foundation, and it got prolonged where a building permit was put out. He made efforts to do it, was slow, ran out of money and everything else. And I know there's all sorts of written documents about protecting you this way and that way, but how do we assure that we keep our integrity as a city on all this real estate stuff? And to me, it's scary. I don't know what the answer is because we can have laws after laws, but how do you go enforce it? And how do you protect, you know, unscrupulous real estate people? I mean, I remember as a kid, it used to be used car salesmen that were the bottom feeders. Now we're into some other people. And if you think of it, in 2008, part of the financial crisis we had came from the appraisal groups, the mortgage companies, and everybody else. So we have a valid point here, and I don't know what the answer is, and I don't think any of us could sit here and come up with it, but we need to do something. Other than that, our cities are going to all go to hell. Okay. I don't know what kind of suggestion to give you guys. If I come up with something, I'll definitely share it.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Okay, that's it.
Yep, just discussion.
Okay, at this time, we'll move on to public comments for items that were not on the agenda. Anybody wishing to speak? You have 3 minutes. Mr. Molnar.
Actually, this was on the agenda a little bit about Mr. Romney. I found it to be a nice breath of fresh air. Like my street got fixed, he right up front told me, it's temporary, which I knew, but I mean, it was so nice to hear somebody just come out and tell you straight out the way it is. I liked that, so I had no problem with it. It was a temporary fix, but it's a lot quieter, and maybe in 3 years they may have to do the slurry again or whatever they called it. But it was nice of him to be straightforward with me. I like that. And I want everybody to be straightforward with me. I may quarrel at you a little bit if I don't like what you say, but everybody's opinion is their opinion. So I just want to wish him well, and the new guy too. I'm pretty impressed with him so far too. he's still got a little ways to go yet, because he's still young. He's not been here long, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so far, he's done a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mullen. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Mark Tozolowski. I live at 30764 Dawson. I have an issue I'd like to have you address, or at least consider. I've been trying since last November to get the approval to put a carport on the back of my garage. I got the approval for the concrete, and then when it came time to put the roof on, I didn't do the concrete. I waited till everything was okay, but I was informed that you're only allowed 950 square feet of outbuildings on your property. I guess just that roof is considered an outbuilding, even though it would be no walls. But I don't see, the thing is, I've got a double lot. So I asked Patrick, I don't know his last name, your ordinance guy, and he said that, it doesn't matter, single lot, double lot, whatever, it's all the same. Well, it doesn't make any sense to me why it would be. I mean, is that something that could be amended or something? I don't know how long that ordinance has
Leave
been
your
on.
name, number. I think I remember talking to you.
Yeah, you and.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's the question. We met in the office today, and I encouraged him to come out here to speak. He had wanted to bring it to the attention of the council. He has a double lot, and a number of double lots exist in our community. The question is, if a single lot is allowed 950, a double lot doesn't obviously have another house on it. Could that be expanded a little bit more? He wants to add a carport off the back of his current garage. My understanding and talking to our staff was the Planning Commission talked about this not too long ago and did a comparison to neighboring cities and see where they were as far as what's allowed or not allowed. Not that that always makes sense for every city to decide what the other neighbors are doing. And as we talked about, some of those communities may not have double lots like this gentleman. So it's a question I guess we can mull over and decide at the council separately, have some meetings, discussions individually with myself and Patrick and discuss. Do we want to go in that direction, expand it, that if you do have a double lot, or at least this size, we would allow a little more footage? Obviously, a double lot, it's not going to make that much of a difference. Now, the issue on the other side is he's allowed to have a slab, but he's also allowed to put up a tent. So now we're talking about having a tent in people's backyards instead of just an expansion to the garage when they have a double lot.
That seems ridiculous.
And that's
the issue that we
Because I
have.
talked to all my neighbors, they said they'd much rather see just a roof coming down off my garage versus one of those big gray tents, And also, by where I propose to put this, I still have 108 feet beyond that before my fence line, where the proposed slab would be. So I don't know, I mean, like I said, I've been to the building department for 10 times over the last 6 months, and I just thought my last resort.
We got your name and number. We'll get
Okay.
back with you.
Yeah, you do. All right, thank
We'll
you
get
for your
back. Yep.
time.
Thanks for coming.
Anybody else? Mr. Bacco.
Last Monday, I was glad somebody stole two of my lights. I had the front porch, two lights rotate. So I called the police. They never came, never showed up. Police,
They never showed up?
nope, never.
And you called, what number did you call?
911.
Okay, we'll look into that. I highly doubt, I find that hard to believe that you called 911 and
I
nobody showed up.
did. I just talked to one on the phone.
Okay. Give us the date and time and we'll look into that.
That might be a dispatch issue.
Anybody else? Mr. Jones.
I'm sure that Councilwoman McCarge and others at the table are probably going to mention it when they get their turns, but I want to make sure we gave shout-outs and kudos to people in charge of the Great Bacon Run, which I understand was very successful, the Kiwanis and Westland, Garden City Kiwanis and Westland JC's Kids Day in the Park and Touch a Truck program, which was also very successful, and remind everybody that because of the weather last week, that the Music in the Park event has been rescheduled for next week, Thursday. And that should be another great turnout.
Mr. Jones, don't you have a 400th show coming up?
What's that?
A 400th show coming up, too?
I think they already have
A what? 400th show.
Radio show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and the community chat will be celebrating their 400th show this Thursday night. Thank you.
Mr. Parton will like that. You didn't even remember that. Anybody else? Okay, city managers report.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Just a couple things real quick. Just want to again thank all the residents also for their support with the roads vote. It's going to be a lot of excitement over the next number of years throughout the community. We're already working on the webpage, which will be full transparency of money in, money out, what projects are on task right now, which ones are coming next. So it'll be well-informed citizenry of what we're doing. So I'm excited about that. I'm just a little concerned about how many people may complain about the detours when you're doing a lot of roads. We can want the roads done, but a lot of detours are going to happen. So that'll be a positive thing. But what a great time to be here in Garden City. Also, Bacon Run, there's going to be a full presentation next week by next meeting by Parks and Rec, along with recognizing the winners, and 2 are in my household.
You ran?
What?
You ran?
Not me. There's one of them right here, the female winner. But that'll be next week, and that turned out to be a great thing for the community. So again, we got some great things on the horizon coming, and excited to be here.
Thank you.
That's it.
Councilmember McCarge.
I have a couple things if my voice holds out. So with the Kids Day in the Park, I'd really like to thank the community that got involved and made that possible, a very inexpensive, fun day for families. I'd like to thank the Garden City Masons, the Garden City Commission on Aging, Garden City Family Resource Center, Garden City Red Hats, Merriman Road Baptist Church, and our police and fire departments. All of the groups just made a great day for the community. And if you have time, look at the great video that Dan York did, about some of the activities that went on that day. Again, thank you. I also would like to thank Kim Dold. As she was talking, mainly when I think of the DDA, I'm thinking of events, but actually the events are just the top of the iceberg. That's what most of us see, the events. We don't see all the other things that the DDA is doing. So I appreciate you taking time tonight to let us know. Thank you. That's all I have tonight.
Councilmember Kerwin. Happy birthday, belated.
Thank you.
29, huh?
Again, yes.
Councilmember Lynch.
I'd just like to welcome little Riley Smith into Garden City. She was born yesterday morning, and the small little daughter of 3 children of Kate and Steve Smith. So congratulations.
Councilmember Jacobs.
The only thing I have is I was in the American Legion Post 396 golf outing this weekend. Our veterans, that post, they do a lot for the community and our veterans, and it was a good turnout. I think they had 32 or 33 foursomes, and the money gets used very well and very wisely. So great job, guys, girls. That's it.
Okay, Councilmember Squires.
Okay, I have nothing tonight, thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Earl.
Yeah, last week, Wayne County Sheriff Sergeant Lee Smith was struck and killed in Highland Park by a hit-and-run driver. I just wanted to say that Lee served the communities in Wayne County, including Garden City, with dedication and honor for over 25 years. He was in a mounted unit, special response team, always there whenever community needed him. I was fortunate enough to be partnered with him in patrol and to teach with him in the academy. He believed in making sure that young officers learn the proper way. I just want to give my condolences to his wife and family and let them know that we're with them. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Madam Clerk Bettis.
Thank you. I just would like to mention the election last Tuesday, or 2 Tuesdays ago. The bad news is that we did not accomplish the 100% turnout that we are still striving for. But we did have a just under 30% turnout, which is about 50% more than the average turnout for a state primary. And so for those of you who reminded their neighbors and their children and their friends and all of those people to come out and who did actually come out, I appreciate it. And also thanks, as always, to all the election inspectors with which we would not be able to pull this out successfully. And then Yeehaw, I believe is the correct term. There is a bike rodeo on Sunday, August 26th at 1 o'clock till 3 o'clock, 1 to 3 o'clock at the Garden City Police Department. And they're encouraging age 4 to 13-year-olds to attend. They're going to have bike demonstrations. They're going to have prize giveaways. They're going to have refreshments. They want you to bring your helmets, and they're going to register your bikes and teach a little bit about bike safety. And so that sounds like fun. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you. I also want to give my condolences to the family of the Wayne County Sheriff that lost his life down in Hines Park. Tragic event, and our prayers go to the family. And then also I want to give kudos to Dan Plumad, and that Bacon Run was a great event, and it's going to get bigger and better every year. Just like our chili cook-off and everything, our parades, everything gets better each year. So that's all I have. No further business. This meeting's adjourned. Thank you.